Hey everyone, thanks for checking in. I'm just taking a walk in some of the beautiful trails just around my house. My brain definitely needs a break from studying neuroanatomy. And I'd just like to talk about my experience with studying neuroanatomy because this is one of the first things in medical school so far. I'm just like, holy shit, this is very difficult. There's so much new stuff, and it's been one of the this is actually the first time ever so far in medical school where I've gone to material. I'm just like, oh shit, I'm not sure if I can learn this. And you have those self doubts, and you're just like, oh crap, there's so much stuff to learn. And I'd just like to use this opportunity to kind of share my experience with studying neuroanatomy and kind of some key lessons I kind of learned throughout this last few weeks. And it was kind of interesting because when we started the semester, one of our lecturers was saying like in this new course, and they kind of last year was Med 411, so last semester, so this semester is Med 412, and he said your first week will go fine, which was not too bad, but it was like, second was kind of like, oh, okay, crap, there's a lot of stuff, you kind of start to handle. He's like, your third week, you're gonna hit a wall. And he's like, climb that wall. So I'm really hitting that proverbial wall of the semester. There's so much shit to know, and it's overwhelming. And I know sometimes in anything in life, but specifically in school science, when you're hammering against the wall or bashing your head against the wall, sometimes it's important to take a step back. And so Friday evening, I was kind of trying to do CBL prep. That's usually something I can bang out pretty easily in an hour. And there was just so much new information, and the lectures had jam-packed so much information. We had an hour lecture about kind of neuroanatomy, the brainstem, and then we spent 20 minutes trying to learn all the 12 cranial nerves. Which anybody who knows all the cranial nerves and all their myriad of functions, you're just like, oh crap. And then we had our histology lab, which was really two labs jam-packed into one, of the histology of the ears and eyes, which is extremely fascinating. But there's so much detail and so complicated. And Friday afternoon, I really wasn't ready to absorb that. And so I said, okay, I did a couple hours of studying afterwards, started doing my CBO prep, and I was like, oh crap, there's so much detail to eyes. And this week our case is multiple sclerosis, and it's a demyelinating disease of the central nervous system. So you can have a whole host of different ways it presents, which is one of the tough challenges with diagnosing it. And so we were looking at the eye and understand, okay, how does eye movement happen? What are the muscles? And you're just like, I've never thought about this, because you take for granted, oh, I can move my eyes in a circle, I move left, right, easy peasy. And I'm just like, studying is like, holy crap. So I started looking over the lectures for Monday, and it was like starting to make sense, but it was just like, on Friday I was like, oh shit. And I was like, okay, I need to take a step back, take a break. And it was awesome. Saturday I had a really chill day, played an intramural basketball game, mistakenly took a really hard yoga class, which kind of kicked my ass. So I'm super sore today. So that's why I'm taking a really chill walk. That's kind of my active recovery. It really should be something a bit more, not strenuous, right? But that's beside the point. I'm kind of being lazy, and it's a nice de-stressor when you're studying neuroanatomy. And the second big thing I like to talk about is neuroanatomy, and it's like anatomy itself is kind of like overwhelming in itself, but because I've had a big background in kind of sports and kind of movement, and I'm really obsessed with movement, I kind of didn't find it that hard for most of it, because I was like, I already knew a lot of the muscles, and I was interested in kind of the connections and all that jazz. But neuroanatomy, it's literally like learning a new language. And one of our anatomy professors was talking about, there's so many new terms in anatomy, and that's what can be so overwhelming, and 80% of those terms are related to neuroanatomy, and it's literally like learning a new language. I think a really important point to take away from this is, when we really learn something, we take a moment to think back. We only really learn one tiny bit at a time. And when we're doing such a complicated topic such as neuroanatomy, we're throwing shit tons and shit tons of information and expected to learn all of it. And it's not, you're not really going to learn all of it. You're going to learn tiny bits and bits. You're going to learn one little thing and then slowly build it up, build that base, build the connections. And I think when you can kind of step back and kind of minimize the need to know everything at once, because that's typically how people in the healthcare field, or high achievers, very intelligent people, they're used to easily getting stuff. And for me, it's like conceptually, and that happens too if you can understand concepts. And concepts are very easy, but can be very easy to understand. You can build connections. You can really process a lot of information rapidly. But in stuff where it's just detail after detail, and it's really hard to build a nice connection unless you have a certain base, which most people don't when you're starting a new topic and you're going into something as complicated as neuroanatomy. So you really have to be willing to say, okay, I gotta take it one step at a time. And to build up that last point I was making about how you have to learn details time by time, you also have to realize there's this kind of misnomer that when you're really intelligent, learning's a snap, easy peasy, there's no hard work, learning should be super easy. And that's absolutely incorrect, right? If I say, what's 2 times 2, and you say 4, there's no learning going on there. And that's how most of our learning is. It's very regurgitation, very quick, simple answers. But really, learning is a very tough process. And I've written blog posts, and they'll be included in the description, where I kind of talk about why learning can be this tough period, where you're putting all this time, but you're seeing no result, and it's just boom, right? Because you're building new networks, you're myelinating stuff. the neuroscience is very complicated, so we're not going into that, but really learning is a very difficult process and it can be strenuous. And the same as in an athletic venue, right? If we're trying to jump higher, you're not going to follow linear response, right? It's going to be, okay, initially you're going to have a nice improvement, which just happens to learn, right? At the beginning, when you're very new to the field, you can learn very rapidly. And then you hit this plateau and you'll be like, I'm putting effort in and nothing's happening, right? It's almost like the latent heat of learning. But all of a sudden, once you put enough time, boom, and a lot of people quit right before that big thing. So you have to realize learning is a very tough, difficult process. So don't get discouraged. You have to keep kind of battling. You have to balance between kind of pushing forward, but you can't do it in an insane way. You gotta be like, okay, push forward and have that balance. And it's a very fine balance, and you'll learn it. As this is kind of why I was studying for 3-4 hours earlier today. I was like, okay, I really need to change the venue. I'm kind of way too much in that sympathetic state. I need to get into that relaxed parasympathetic state. So it's really important to have that balance. So just kind of summarize, neuroanatomy is an extremely difficult topic, and there'll be plenty more to come in med school. And anything, any field, anything can get really complicated, especially if you want to be great at it. But it's really important to understand kind of the learning process and to realize, hey, I need the balance between working hard and balancing. I need to realize I need to be patient with myself because I can only really learn one thing at a time. And to realize learning can sometimes be a painful process, and it's okay. Just work with it and slowly build it up and make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can work through the process, because it is hard work. The same as when you're training for a game or a marathon or a big race. There's going to be times where you're going to be like, I don't want to fucking do this, but that's part of it, right? That's part of the journey of being the best you can be. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to continue following my journey through medical school. Thank you.